Okay. Well, now I feel like we know each other so well. I feel like we don't need to do introductions at this point.
I mean, we probably should, because I'm not that famous.
Well, maybe. But one day when you are, then people will just be like, oh yeah, we know who this is. So tell us who you are, a little bit about yourself, and then go for that.
Gosh, well, my name is Karen 12. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a gamer and an improviser, and I often mash those two things together. Like in my book, I just have this here.
Well, what? Wait, it's out of print?
Unfortunately, it is.
Yeah, you were telling me about that. I remember.
Yeah, well, when we get past this introduction that I'm already taking too long at, we can talk about that. But yeah, that's what I do. I do a lot of improv and gaming, and I'm an editor, both professionally and like as a full-time job. It's like both professionally and also professionally, but in gaming too.
Oh, really?
So like for a day job that pays the bills, and then the fun job.
Yeah.
Because you gotta have a fun job.
What do you do in editing video games? Like what
Oh no, not video games.
Games.
I edit role-playing game rulebooks.
Oh wait, that's right.
Yeah.
I think you might have wrote about this in your book also.
A little bit.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I do a lot of editing for Evil Hat and Bully Pulpit and Thorny Games.
Oh, awesome.
But, also worked with Monty Cook Games. I did some proofreading for them for a little while, and smaller companies and people's personal projects sometimes if I'm free and they ask me.
Sure.
I'll do it.
I swear I've heard of one of those. Like, I don't have a lot of games. I have a stack. It's right to the side of me right now, but I don't have like a lot of board games. But there was a short period of my life where I was like on Board Game Geek like every day, just being like, what's the top game today, you know?
The only board games I've done, I think, are all the ones through Evil Hat.
Oh, okay.
So that was like the Dresden Files board game and some of their smaller ones. That mostly were all the same game developer, Eric Vogel. That was fun.
So mostly then your editing work has been in tabletop games then.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'm interested, before we get on to the rest of the stuff, what was it that like drew you to tabletop games like initially?
Oh, in high school, a friend said, do you want to play Dungeons and Dragons? And I said yes. So Ben, this is your fault.
Which edition was it?
Oh God, an early one, because that was the 90s.
Okay, so 90s.
was it either 2E or advanced? I don't remember.
My gosh, wow, that's incredible. And have you been playing ever since then?
Yeah, I mean, not Dungeons and Dragons.
What do you play now?
Right now, not much. I'm in a kind of a mini campaign of Last Fleet, which is the game where it's absolutely not Battlestar Galactica. It's Battlestar. And it's really fun. But we've kind of been taking a break from it for holiday reasons and stuff. I just kind of have one group right now. We cycle through different games and we'll play it for however many sessions it takes.
It was called Last Fleet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna look that up after we're done.
Yeah, it's good.
It's
rough. It's similar to, I say rough, not like the book, like the gameplay.
Okay.
Is emotionally pushing.
No, I'm into that. Yeah,
similar to like, in Blades in the Dark, you play characters that will burn out, and that's the mechanic leads them to burnout. This game also leads you to burnout. You have a lot of stress.
That's what I look for in games too. Is I really want to burn out on this game. I probably would. You're probably right.
You suffer a lot of stress, and there's only a few ways to relieve stress.
Yeah.
We actually ended up kind of hacking it to be on easy mode, because we were like, we're all gonna lose our characters in like a session.
Oh no!
Because once you run out of ways to relieve stress, you have to retire your characters somehow. Like that's it. You can't play anymore. So like your character just they have to exit the story. It's in various ways.
It sounds like the polar bear plunge of tabletop role-playing games.
It's a toughie. It's a toughie, and then we're like, we're going into the time of like winter, and we're all getting seasonal depression. we should go play something light and fluffy and come
Yeah.
back to this.
Yeah. That's
We'll just
funny.
leave all of our characters kind of dying in space in the middle of multiple catastrophes, and we'll figure it out in the spring.
As all should. That is a life lesson. What tea are you drinking today?
Oh, I am drinking a barley tea.
Ooh.
That I recently just remembered was a thing.
I've never
it's
heard
really
of
good.
barley tea before.
Oh yeah, you can buy it, anywhere. Particularly in like Chinese markets have tons of it, or just the internet.
Oh, true.
This is just really cheap, like Korean barley tea.
Oh,
And
cool.
yeah, and I stewed a bunch of it last night actually with like some orange slices because we had friends
Oh,
over.
that sounds good.
Yeah. It has a really like nice maltiness to it, so I kind of make like non-alcoholic hot toddies with it.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I dumped in a bunch of bitters, a bunch of Angostura bitters to
Oh
this.
my
So
gosh, that's perfect.
it's really nice. It's
Yeah.
really nice because I can't handle alcohol much at all anymore. So I like having an adult feeling beverage.
Yeah, so I only recently started drinking alcohol, and I'm 32 right now, and I only started recently drinking alcohol like 4 or 5 years ago. I grew up Mormon, and it was just a thing, and
Right.
yeah, and I feel a little stupid that I came into the drinking game so late in life, because I had like 2 years of my life where I could be like, oh yeah, I can drink a decent amount and be fine the next day. And then after those 2 years, I was like, oh, I can't function now.
Yeah.
If I have more than one drink,
I hate to tell you, it's only going to get worse.
which is fine.
It's only going to get worse.
I went, 24 years of my life not drinking. I can go the rest.
Like you're finally old enough for your palate to appreciate things.
Yes, exactly.
And you can't drink. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's only now that I'm starting to be like, oh yeah, I like beer. Like it's a fun drink for me to have, and it's a good taste. Whereas before I was like, it's awful and I hate it.
I would look into sparkling hop water. If
Yeah,
you're looking
I've
for a
seen it.
non-alcoholic.
I haven't
It's
tried
good.
it. Okay.
I
What-
like it, but I'm not a beer drinker, and so it's more, much like LaCroix is like the memory of
Yes.
flavored sparkling water. This is like the memory of a beer, but it's sparkling water. It's flavored with hops. There's a lot of different brands out there and different types.
We always joke
like
that
it.
at the LaCroix factory, it's just somebody whispering the word and
Yeah.
then closing it on top.
Yeah. Just going,
You're just the best one. That's the best one. I mean, the best name. The best name, easily. Pamplemousse. It's the only French one, isn't it?
I don't drink LaCroix. I just put bitters in my sparkling water.
Which is frankly the same. It's actually more flavorful than LaCroix.
It is, yeah. I have like grapefruit bitters or like cherry.
Oh, you do. You really can do whatever you want then.
I can do whatever I want.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So, I feel like that's a very good festive drink. Also, I'm boring and I'm just drinking chamomile with a tiny bit of honey. But
Sounds nice.
it is nice because I actually find myself. I'm very excited to talk to you. I've loved the book, and I haven't. I will be honest. I haven't read all of it.
Oh, that's okay. I
Yeah.
mean, haven't in a while.
Okay. So now we'll see we'll say who knows more.
Probably you.
Probably not. I feel like writing stuff is just an expression of thoughts that you've had for like a bunch of years of your life anyway. So then it's like a natural extension of you.
It's really interesting. I had to, obviously reread it to work on the second edition, which I don't know when it'll be out. We are going to do a Kickstarter for it sometime next year. It's in the editing process right now, not by me. Somebody else is editing it. Thank God.
Awesome. Wow. Yeah, seriously. That's cool.
Yeah. Well, I had another editor on the first one too.
That's
and it was
smart.
great. Yeah, it was great.
Actually, that is interesting. I would like to hear, why do you feel like you can't edit your own work?
I mean, the same reason why no game designer can edit their own work. You're too close to it.
Yeah.
And what I realized, you know, and like any author, you have your own way of writing, and that might be like really heavy on the commas or
I do a lot.
really
I do a
long
lot of
sentences.
commas. I do a lot of
I do
commas.
too. I do a lot of repetitive sentences, and sometimes it's like a fun rhythm, and sometimes it's just too much.
Yeah.
And so you need somebody who can look at it a little bit more objectively and be like, okay, I see what your style is, and I want to keep that. But I also want it to like not be too much. So they're there to kind of balance it, and also just like, you know, look for things that you wouldn't notice and ask questions that maybe there's something, and especially with rule books, you know, to a game designer, how to play the game is very obvious.
Yeah, because you've been play testing it for so long.
Yeah, and you can have things that then aren't in the book anymore that you thought.
Oh yeah,
obvious.
like house rules that just don't get written down.
Yeah.
It's like the classic like Monopoly conundrum, right? Like when you land on free parking, do you get the money in the middle or do you not get the money in the middle? There's nowhere in the rule book that says that, but have you, like, some people play that way, so.
I don't play that game.
Yeah, it's a horrible game. It is probably the, I don't know why people like it. I don't get it.
I don't know. We were just raised with it. I think it's nostalgia.
But kids like it.
Oh, then we're just passing our toxicity on to them.
Because I had heard, and I don't know if this is true, but that Monopoly was kind of conceived as a way to show the pitfalls of capitalism.
Yeah, that's what I heard. It was the anti-capitalist game, and now it's the most capitalist game.
I know. It has become itself, you know, like it's maybe that's what it is. It's the most self-aware game that exists.
Maybe.
Yeah, she was, and honestly, she was really smart. The person, I can't remember her name. Do you remember her name that wrote or came up with Monopoly?
I don't know.
I know it was a woman, and I don't remember her name. But there was a speed version of Monopoly that I did enjoy, though. It was everybody.
Speed the movie. It was skin for.
Yeah, you have to play it. You have to either roll a 6 or a 5, and if you roll below it, your piece just explodes. Yeah, it's Keanu Reeves is somewhere in there. That's all I know. I've actually never seen Speed. I've never seen it.
It's so fun. We rewatched it a little while ago, and it's actually great because the movie ends and then it just keeps going for like another 40 minutes, and it's almost like you get another movie.
What?
I know, like they save the day. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, it's
like,
get
off the bus. But then the movie keeps going, and then there's like a second bomb.
Wait, no.
There's like an extra mini movie at the end.
No, there's not. I can't believe this.
And yeah, we were watching a lot of action films during the summer, and we watched that one, and then we watched Speed 2. And
there's a second Speed?
Oh yeah, they're on a boat. Keanu's not in it, but Willem Dafoe is in it.
Willem Dafoe is in it?
Willem Dafoe is in it.
What? Really?
I know.
Okay.
And who was the guy?
Well, it's Sandra Bullock. Sandra Bullock's in the first one, right?
She's in both of them. Yeah.
Oh, she's in both.
Yes.
Whoa.
Yeah.
How old was she when she made that? Because it was probably pretty early on in her career, right? Like.
Yeah.
Wow. Sorry.
The thing I noticed about both of those movies, and now I see all the time in a lot of movies, is like I started really feeling for the bad guys. So the first movie, the guy, and like, I guess this is a spoiler for you. Hopefully everybody else.
I don't. I'll just watch it through your telling of it. It's actually, I see it.
The bomber was an ex-cop who got cheated out of his pension money.
What?
And so he's asking for the exact money that he was owed from his pension, like that exact dollar amount. And you're like, I mean, all cops are bastards, but also, like, that sucks. You should have your pension.
Yeah.
This is not the right way to do it, but like, also, yeah, that really sucks.
Yeah.
The second one, Willem Dafoe has a bomb because he's cheated. He got fired and got cut off from his health insurance, and he has he has a pre-existing condition.
Oh my gosh.
And he's dying.
Oh my gosh.
And so he wants the money.
Isn't this what Man on Fire is too?
Yeah. And I'm just realizing, like, there's all these movies where the bad guy has been screwed over by capitalism. By all
there you
go.
Nonsense. By monopoly.
and I guess maybe that's, I don't know if we're really, if it's like we're not actually supposed to dislike them because they're also like played by, amazing actors, and they always want to make the villain have like a little bit of something so you can be invested in their story. But it's like, damn, that's
do you think do you think it is that way? Like, do you think it is a conscious decision by, and I'm saying this is broad, like not just movies, but like with a writer, and you edit a lot, so you see a lot of these like pieces of work, right? And like tabletop games, like, because it's always, whenever I run my games, I do feel it's nice to not have good versus evil. I like getting rid of that line 100%. I like doing more law versus chaos. Like that's the spectrum that I understand a little bit better than good and evil, I think, at this point in my life. So I try not to make one bad guy. I try to make like some powerful people that if you side with one of them, it's going to go against the other. Like that's the whole point right there. So do you think it is like a conscious decision by people to make a redeemable bad guy, or do you think it's a product of its time and just reflecting what people were like, oh, that is not a good trait, like not a good quality to have,
I don't know. It made me want to go back and look at more action movies and things like that about like these maligned lone wolf characters, and is it always something like, the government screwed me over? Because it just does seem to be a really common theme, and then I'm like, but I actually really feel for them, and I think that they should get the money.
Which
I think that you should just give them the money. I don't see the problem in this. Just do it.
Exactly. And it's like, and also it's just like, I think it shows that art can be like so ahead of its time also, like, because when you think back to the 90s, you think of like this is pre 9/11, like this is like, a lot of stuff is fine and dandy in the 90s, like depending on who you are and your situation and everything, but like then the world just kind of goes nuts. Like 9/11, at least in America. I think I'm speaking from an American-centric point of view, for sure. But like things go nuts, and then this like then like the Patriot Act becomes a thing, and we're like, oh yeah, the government is always listening to us. And so there's these movies that are kind of like anti-government coming out like in the 90s, and then it's like Patriot Act, and it's like, oh yeah, that's real now, that's reality. Yeah. So I think art just has this weird tendency to like, I don't know, maybe it's intentional. Maybe they're intending to do it. Or maybe they just got really lucky, or maybe they're good storytellers. I also
definitely watch Speed 1 and 2.
I know. I will watch I promise I'll watch the first one. I can't promise I'll watch the second.
It was good.
Is there a second boat? Is there a second boat?
No. There's just one boat.
Is there a second movie within the movie?
No. It ends when you think it should end, and then it's over.
I'm losing my interest by the second. This is kind of an interesting point I wanted to bring up about your book as well. This was the thing that I think I connected with the most in your book, was the concept of how you explore in improv the principle of yes and.
Oh yeah.
Which now is not just known in the improv world, right? Like yes and, I think, has become a phrase, especially in the tabletop world. Like yes and is very well known, Yeah. So I guess what I want to hear, I loved specifically how you broke it down into like yes and, yes but. Was it no and no but? That alone, the fact that you had put the word no next to that, I have never taken an improv course. I've never read an improv book before. Yours is my first. And the fact that the concept no exists in improv basically blew my mind.
I feel like that's kind of a new, newer, like the last 10 years,
Oh,
thought that people are
really?
having more of, because yeah, it it's something that has to be talked about a little bit more, because if you just look at saying, oh, the rule is you just have to say yes to whatever your partner
Yeah.
gives you and play along, that's a very toxic rule that like people could really take advantage of.
Yeah.
And that's not what it's meant to mean. So there's a lot more talk in improv about consent and about boundaries. And it used to be, an older one was like, you have to take care of yourself. You have to protect yourself on stage. You have to be savvy enough that when someone's coming at you and just trying to
Oh.
make you uncomfortable, that you can spin it around.
It was like
And then,
a boxing match, or like
yeah,
WWE.
yeah. And then there was kind of the thought of like, no, that's stupid.
Huh.
What if, here's a thought, what if, one, we trusted the people that we worked with
Yeah.
to not make us feel, to not put us in a weird space on
Yeah.
stage, and like not make us uncomfortable for their own fun. Because
Yeah.
like that's not the game.
No, no.
Yeah.
I love that. And
So
it's,
it became a lot less about like how to be savvy and protect yourself, and more just be like, no, like you actually just need to be better to your partner, and then we can all trust each other a lot more, and then we can actually explore like deeper things.
yeah, yeah.
And not be so guarded and scared all the time.
Yes, exactly. It's I think it's acknowledging the concept that bleed exists, you know? It's a very real thing, and like to just say like we'll just compartmentalize, or just like put this in one spot and this in another, like sure, I think we all do that to an extent, but it's not, it's a spectrum. It's not like it's not black and white, you know? It's not like you're improving and you're not improving. It's like a pendulum that swings, you know?
Yeah. And I think so it kind of switched from protect yourself to protect each other.
I love that. That's awesome.
But also, you know, and I mean, I guess it's the same too. I mean, if you go to a convention, you're sitting down with people that you don't know, and so you might be a little bit more guarded about the content that you're going to do, or you're not sure what type of game player there are. You can go to jams, you can go to improv jams and jump up on stage with people you don't know.
Oh, interesting.
Or you have a troupe and you're with that troupe for years.
Yeah.
And those are like your friends, and you work together and you get to really know each other. And then you know the content that you can and can't play with that will do well on stage. The same as you would, you know, with a gaming group that you're campaigning with for years and years, or, you know,
yeah,
you stop one game and you start right up again with the same group in a different game. You get to really know each other. So that's very important.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's such an apt analogy. To me, what I was thinking of is it's the difference between doing like a one shot versus a long running campaign, like 13-year game, you know?
Yeah.
And I guess I should ask you, I definitely have an opinion on this, but do you think that there is like, which one do you prefer to do? Like longer running or short term stuff?
Oh, I mean, I really like them both. I think the longest campaign that I've had in like adulthood was only 3 years.
Oh, that's good. That's a long time.
Yeah, we had a 3-year Pathfinder campaign, and that was amazing.
Wow, that's awesome.
And then when that folded, because some of our friends moved and we just couldn't, we couldn't keep it up online. And we were all ready to wrap the story, so we wrapped it before they moved.
Oh, that's cool. You're able to do that too, because that's not always how it goes. Most games just fizzle and die.
It was really nice.
That's
so
awesome.
I think, and that was another reason I think why I look back really fondly at it, because it was a very complete story that we made. And then some of us that were all still local was like, well, we're just gonna find another game.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I've still been with that group for many years now, playing different things.
Oh, cool.
But
that's
we tend
awesome.
To do shorter. We like doing shorter things of like 5 or 6 sessions, or maybe we'll do a series of one shots.
Yeah.
I like one shots at cons because I like just one, I'm already punchy because I haven't slept enough, and you know, I'm not eating well, and you know, maybe I'm hydrated. So I like coming in and playing games where I can just, you know, make everything explode and then leave.
Yeah. I just
like
played.
let's tell the big story. Let's let's mess everything up. Let's cause all the problems.
Yeah.
Let's try to, win the day.
Yeah.
And like play really big.
I love that. It's funny that you say that because I just played in a game. I don't ever play. I always DM. And my friend was like, I was having a really hard time. Just a ton of like depression was going on, and I was like, I can run a game, but I want you all to know, like, there might be some weird stuff in there. Like, I'm going through a lot right now, so like I can do it, but like there's gonna be some weird stuff. And my friend's like, don't worry about it, I'll do it. And I was like, oh, thank goodness. And he let me play a character who had died in a former campaign of ours.
Oh, fun.
We got to resurrect her, and her name is Trix. She's a short little gnome with pink hair, and she's a wizard, and she has a fanny pack, and I actually kind of built her around the concept of yes. She says she basically lives without fear, which Parker lives with a lot of fear.
Yeah.
Basically, I'm dictated by fear, So I wanted to be like, well, what happens if I don't live that way? And that's what happened with Trix. Trix was born out of that. And she died investigating some moss in the first campaign, and now in this most recent campaign, she died again.
Oh no!
She died eating an egg because somebody was like, one of the other party members had eaten it, and he was like, oh yeah, it was good. And it was a learning experience. And Trix was like, oh, that's all I needed to hear. And so she ate it and failed her con save and died. But
wow, that's a hell of an egg.
I know. I took like 35 points of damage as a wizard. It was a lot. Anyway, but then my friend was like, oh, you can't die in this world, like not possible, and you're just stable at 0. You're not conscious. And it was awesome. It was fun for me to go in and blow something up, and then, I can go back to DMing now. Like, so I totally understand what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
Well, going back to like the sliding scale of yes, Archipelago uses that as its mechanic to resolve conflict.
Oh, really?
So Archipelago is this little game. You can like download it online. There's links actually in the back of the book, but you can also just look for it. And it's also, is that one in Norwegian style? It might be.
I don't know what Norwegian style is.
Oh, it's a book. It's a little older book of Norwegian games and LARPs. It's weird.
Oh, that's cool. I just wrote down.
Yeah, so it's by is it Matthias Holter? I hope I'm not. I'm probably mispronouncing that.
Okay, I'll do my best. I'll do my best. Google will know. Google will know.
But the mechanic is a deck of cards.
I love that already. I love that.
And they say yes and yes but, no but, and no and. And so, and it's GM-less. So whenever you're playing, anybody can say the magic words of like, that might not be so easy. And then you have to pull the card and see what happens. And
that's so cool.
Yeah. So you just play until it seems like it would be fun to see if you play it until it becomes improbable that like you probably can't do this, and then somebody makes that call, and meanwhile everybody has narrative control over one element of the story.
Oh, interesting.
So it could be something like the weather, or like how the townsfolk are feeling.
Oh, cool.
Or something like that. And so whenever you need that type of detail, you can ask that person to declare what it is, and they get to decide on that one thing. Is
it the same person every game doing a certain role?
It's designed to be a one-shot.
Oh, okay. So that's actually cool, because then you can make your character with whatever you have control of in mind also.
Yeah.
So like if you are somebody that like controls the weather, if you're the player that controls the weather, you could do like, oh
no, it's not the player, it's not the character.
But what if it was the character? Would that work? Yeah.
I mean, it could. Actually, I mean, you probably could campaign it. I'm sure people might.
That was exciting for me to think about.
Yeah. But it's a really cool game, and it's like one of the first ones that I happened to come across as I was kind of exploring indie games when I moved back to Oakland. And and yeah, and I had also kind of been starting improv at that time, and I was like, oh my god, it's right here, it's here. So
That's
yeah,
so
so I
cool.
definitely credited that and tried to mention it a couple of times. But
What a
for me,
good,
that's a good way to break it down.
that's a good feeling. That's a good feeling to have.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I can't wait till I get that feeling. I will be I'll let you know. I'm so excited for it.
But so many games have things like that built in now.
Yeah.
And have for some time, of various ways of figuring out like what your role means. So it's not just nothing happens or it didn't work.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're right, because it's not accepting the scene. And I feel like I love D&D. It's actually the only tabletop role-playing game that I've played is D&D, and I really enjoy it. But I think that's probably one of the things that I have the hardest time with, is this concept of not accepting somebody's like offer,
Yeah.
Because like if you roll a 2, or not even like, I feel like 1s you can usually do something with. It's usually a yes. It just is a little bit different. But like if they roll like a 5, you're like, you don't notice anything, like if it's a 5 on perception check, you're like, oh, you don't notice anything. But that doesn't allow the person who gave their offer, they don't have anywhere to go now. Like,
Yeah.
that was that they had an idea and they wanted to see where it went. Not necessarily they wanted to see a result. They just wanted to see where the path went,
Yeah. So, I mean, it would almost be better to give them knowingly the wrong information.
Yes, exactly.
But make sure that the player knows that they're getting the wrong information, so that they can have fun with that, of like, oh no, my character is getting in trouble now because they are very confident that you're supposed to go this way.
Yeah.
Right, but we're gonna go that way and see what happens. Like you can make the roll that went under whatever you're supposed to hit still take the story somewhere.
So if you were DMing and you had a player that was like, I want to see what's under this, like I want to see if there's anything magical under this rock, and they roll a 5, what would your response to that be?
I don't know. I mean, maybe there would absolutely be something magical there, but they wouldn't. It's something that they weren't expecting that might cause a slight inconvenience.
So would you call that a no but then?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. See. Yeah. I love that. So what would a no and look like in that situation?
Oh, that's just when it's even worse. So
the rock eats you.
Yeah, the rock eats you. The rock, unfortunately, was a portal into the fairy world, and it crumbles behind you, and you were separated from your party. Like now, it's even worse.
Wow, and
like I don't think that you should do that all the time.
No. That's
it's
sparing.
Really a bummer.
Yeah,
but it's like not only did it not work, but worse things have now happened.
Yeah, and then yes, but would be the reverse of that. It'd be like yes, there is something magical, but it's cursed. Like, and I know those are negative things, but like.
Yeah, it's like you're not trying to take it away. You're like, yeah, no, that totally happens. Yeah. But this other, like, there's a slight downside. Like, you do get what you want, but like maybe there's something else. Like, yeah, you absolutely find something that's magic, but unfortunately, you don't have what you need right now.
Yeah, but a troll owns it, and now the troll wants it back. Yeah. So I like that. It's saying, you have to think it's like a step above. There's kind of like this weird layer in between, like improv or tabletop, whatever it is, and like who you are outside of it, and like in between that is kind of like this weird space, like where you're not necessarily saying yes to everything the characters decide to do. Like,
no, you're accepting that it's true.
Yes,
that's the yes. That's like what the lots of people break down yes and in different ways. Here's how I do it.
I love it so far.
I always
feel
like I have to preface that.
Yeah.
But it for me, it's very much, the yes is accepting that the offer is true and it happened. They made that attempt. They absolutely did try to do it. So you can't take that fact away.
Yeah.
And then the and is all, building upon that. So cementing that thing that happened, adding some more details, making it make sense in the story. You're justifying why it happened.
Yeah.
And then taking another step, from there.
Yeah.
So you're not saying yes, like, letting every role win.
Yeah.
You're accepting that all of these things happen because people have said that they happened.
So I'm sorry to put you on the spot for all these questions, but this is one thing that I've been very interested in. I'd love to get your take on it. If somebody was in combat in D&D or Pathfinder, either one, and they miss in a combat situation, how do you build on that scene? Like,
I mean, it depends on how long you want your combat scene to be. Ours were very cinematic. We would really get into describing everything. And if we missed, we would still describe what it looked like, and maybe, maybe it wasn't a miss, maybe they just happened to step out of the way. Like you absolutely, because you don't want to have your character built up to be really, really good at something and then be like flubbing roles and feeling like, why am I incompetent and can't do this?
Yeah.
And it's like, no, your arrow went true.
Yeah.
They sidestepped. They had a deflector thing. Like it just didn't work, but that doesn't mean that you aren't awesome.
Yeah.
You're still very awesome.
Yeah, I think
like it might be funny to just be like, I absolutely face planted.
Yes.
That happened.
Yeah. I've learned in D&D, it was fun for me at the beginning to come up with what would happen if people rolled natural ones. Like I really liked being like, you would attack somebody else. And like that's like but now I'm realizing like it's better to let the players describe it, like,
oh yeah,
just let them do it. Also, my dog is, I think, getting hungry and he's petitioning me for food.
Oh no.
Yeah. Pancho, are you hungry? Look who's up there. It's Karen. Oh, he did see for a little bit.
Ah.
Do you see who that is? Yeah, he's looking at you. You can't tell because my camera is elevated, but he loves this. Is that Karen? He's gonna go for you. Oh, he got scared by the microphone. He's the biggest sissy. He is. He's sweet. We're actually spirit animals. Him and I, we both share extreme amounts of anxiety. And there he goes. So whenever I feel bad, if I feel anxious, he knows and tries to comfort me. And then when he feels anxious, I have to comfort him. So we live in tandem with each other. Yeah. I love that concept of saying yes. Like I think saying yes to the offer, like, and that's the important thing. I guess, how do you distinguish what an offer is versus when somebody's just trying to like be funny or say something like that,
I mean, I guess it's hard because in gaming you're constantly going in character and out of character. So like in improv, when you're on stage and the audience you're on. Yeah. So whatever you say, if you say it out loud, it's true. And then you don't get to have a timeout. You don't get to ask clarification questions. You don't get to step back and be like, wait a second, where am I? Where are we on the map? Can I move that many? Like, you don't get any of that.
Yeah.
So gaming is so much better.
Yeah.
You can breathe and you can strategize and you can talk about things. So there's a lot of room. So, but yeah, if you say like, I want my character to try to do this thing, like, do it. If it seems like it would be too difficult, then you should roll for it and then we'll see what happens. But yeah, I mean, if you make the roll, then it occurred. An attempt was made.
Yeah. That seems fair. Like, I think when a roll happens, that's a pretty easy way to be like, this is an offer,
Yeah, this is an offer. It's true now.
And I don't usually have this happen, but I think it's because it's interesting. The longer I DM, the less control I want over things. And I don't know why that is. Like in the beginning, I really wanted control over everything,
Yeah.
And now I've realized like, oh, that is exhausting, like it is. It's hard. And so rather being like, no, if we all, and that's why I've actually stopped preparing as much for my games, is because it started from like this place of anger. I was like, well, the players aren't going to like prepare as hard as I am. Like, I'm not going to work harder than my players, And then that
you don't
softened.
Want to be resentful of your players. That's correct.
Exactly. And then it softened. It was like, no, everybody's busy. Like, what would be more fun would be just to show up and just play. Like, you don't need to plan because you're just make believing. You're being a kid again. Like, let yourself do that, you know? And so, yeah, I've basically switched to more of like a group, trying to get like a group improv style. And my goal is now that my players will tell me when they want to roll. So I'll know, I'll know when they're giving me an offer for sure.
Yeah. I mean, they should really be telling you what they want to do, and you then provide, you know, the options.
Yes. And I think the only way that I do it right now is they're like, I want to check this out. And then I'm like, okay, that's going to require a roll, you know, like either this or this.
Yeah, yeah.
But I want them to be like, do I notice anything? And just like, they just roll their dice without even like me saying anything. And then, because that just means they are so like into it, they've lost track of like the rules. And they're just like, I got to figure this out. Like, I want this. And they just roll, you know, like. So that's a secret goal I have as a DM.
Yeah. I mean, you can also start thinking about how necessary is it to roll.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if it's easy enough to just do, why not just do it? If you already have the super high stats, it seems like it stands to reason that there should be a lot of things that you can just hand wave as like, yeah, you know that. You're really good at that already. Like, that's not going to be difficult for your character to do.
Yeah, maybe I think that's kind of the beautiful thing about like, I think leveling up in games is when you're first leveling, I feel like there's a lot more roles that happen because everybody's still getting a feel for what everyone's good at. So like eventually you get to the point when you're like, oh yeah, the barbarian is bad at persuasion, you know, like don't send him. We know now. And the player also is learning themselves. They're like, oh yeah, my barbarian is bad. They're not going to be the ones that first talk. It's going to be the bard instead, you know? And then once those roles are like established and people like find their niches within the party, you just like stop requiring roles because it's like, yeah, you know, like, yeah, this works, you know, you're well trained. We know, everybody knows you're well trained at this, so you can do it.
Yeah, it can be frustrating if like every action needs a role.
Yeah,
I've had games like that, and it just started getting very tedious.
Yeah, I think I do too much of it. Like, I definitely have way too many roles in my game, and I would love to cut those down. Yeah. That's the goal. I forgot to do this for the warm-up, because I just have enjoyed our conversation so thoroughly. So, also, I am going to cut here. How late do you want to go? I
have nothing going on.
Perfect. Okay. Excellent. Sounds good. We'll restart here.
Yeah, Sean's not here. I don't have to entertain him later.
The night is yours.
Yeah, just me and the dog, the Christmas tree.
That's the dream. That Christmas tree is amazing, by the way.
Thank you. We have 3 trees.
No, you don't. Are you serious? Do you have cats? No. Okay, man, there we go.
That's exactly why. Yeah.
This is our first year with a cat, and we're like, we want a tree, but can we get a tree?
I've heard, and anytime, by the way, that I say I've heard or I read on the internet, I saw it in a TikTok. The suggestion was you should terrorize your cat with the tree a little bit before you put it up. Yeah. And then they'll leave the tree alone because they're scared of it. And so just traumatize your cat slightly. It's that easy. Merry Christmas.
You know, with a dog, with Poncho being the anxious ball of mess that he is, I've learned how much fear dictates his life, and so I'm like, my goal is to reduce the amount of fear that my animals have to go through on a day-to-day basis. Oh, I need to grab some water too. I'm realizing I finished my tea. Now I'm waterless.
Oh no.
I know. This is one day when we make it big and we have our own studio, you know, we'll have the pitcher, we'll have people bring us water. It'll be just great, you know. It'll be awesome. Nice. Yeah. Have you I'm actually interested in this. Do you have, like, what are your favorite pieces of media that you would consider are like improv that you enjoy?
Wait.
So, I mean,
question.
It's a little bit of a loaded question here because I'm thinking about improv, and like, you have such a background in history in improv. And
Thank you.
yeah, I mean, reading this book, you wrote a book about it. Like,
I did. Yeah, I keep waiting for somebody to call me out on that.
well, I've loved it as somebody who knows nothing about improv, has no training. This is game changing for me. Like, so I found this at Powell's Books in Portland.
Oh my God, a real bookstore.
Real bookstore, right? And see, it has the tag on it and everything.
Holy shit.
I need to take that off. But yeah, I got this. It was I was looking for, where did I find it? I think I found it near Shelley's book, actually, because I was looking for improv books and I was trying to find like some of like the classics, like which is that City one? Second City, is that?
Second City, yeah.
Second City book. And there are other ones that I clearly don't have. So
there's a lot,
Yeah.
and they're good, but maybe there's also newer ones. I think improv, like I said, has gone through some of its own learning about what type of improv do people want to be doing.
Oh, cool.
And so it is worth not necessarily just relying on the first books.
Yeah.
And now I've pissed off everybody in Chicago.
Good news. Nobody watches this channel. We can say whatever we want.
Nice.
Did you ever watch Craig Ferguson at all?
No, but I know the guy.
Yeah, so
I know of him. I don't know him.
I know what we
I've
go.
heard of the guy.
I'm from Scotland. We actually were next door neighbors, No, that's not true at all. I do actually think my family does come from Scotland. Anyway, I love Craig Ferguson. My goal is to make an interview style show that is Craig Ferguson's show, except it'll be related to like tabletop role playing games. That's the that's the goal. So I don't have a horse, but I have Poncho. I don't have a robot skeleton, but I have 3 other dogs and a cat.
Yeah,
so
good enough.
Yeah. So. I think, so basically bringing it back to the original question of media, there is a reason.
There was a question.
There is a reason. Reading this book, I found this book in the section that was labeled as tabletop role playing, like pop culture.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and it had like Shelley's book there, which is like everything I need to know I learned from Dungeons and Dragons. And then it had Improv for Gamers, which I originally went looking for your book because it had the word improv and it was for gamers. I was like, oh, I gotta check this out.
Yeah.
I gotta check this out. I'm a gamer. That's me.
Yeah. It says it on the cover. It's for me.
Have I made a game? No, never. But I play them. I play them all.
That's what it's for. Yeah.
And I'm actually a recreation therapist, so I play so many games, just so many rounds of categories and Balderdash and Yahtzee, so much Yahtzee and Uno. And I've started house rules of those games because I can't play them the same way anymore. Like,
oh yeah,
I will die if I have to play Uno by rules as written ever again.
Yeah.
So I'm interested because when I think of improv in media that I know about, it's now becoming popular because D&D has hit a renaissance and is taking off. It's becoming popular. Now there's a TV show where they play tabletop role-playing games. Like that's a thing. So if we rewind, the things I can think of are like, whose line is it anyway? And now like Taskmaster, what Dropout is doing, like Dropout TV, College Humor people. So like, what are some of your favorite depictions of improv in media?
Oh man,
yeah,
that's a hard one.
I know.
I mean, I grew up watching Whose Line, all through middle school.
Colin and Ryan are 2 of my favorite improvers.
and so that type of improv is called short form, where it's very gamey.
Yes,
it can be competitive as they were playing it, kind of with teams and points and stuff.
The points matter, of course.
Yeah, and I actually am in a troupe that is a short form troupe.
Oh, that's cool.
Obviously, you haven't performed in a little while, but
do you do anything online? Actually,
no.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
I was teaching online, not performance classes. I was doing improv for real life type classes. So
How was that?
really fun.
Oh, good.
That was really fun.
I've been looking into those. I think I might want to do one.
I took performance classes for myself as a refresher at the
Oh.
end of about this time last year, and then in January, February, with a friend of mine who runs online classes that I really like him and I like his style. So
Oh, cool.
And I was like, I'm afraid I have forgotten how to do this thing.
Yeah.
And I'm really struggling with doing it online, but I'll give it a shot. So
yeah. That's interesting you say that, because my feelings towards improv right now are one of like, I really want to do it, but there's nowhere I can, you know, like it's like I don't, my work schedule is super screwy, and we only have like one car, and so transport is hard, and so it's like, and I don't technically live in Portland, I live outside of it, so it's hard to get into Portland, and like it's like, oh man, it's not easy to like get into improv, and then it's like, oh wait, the internet exists.
yeah. So online improv has had some really fun, interesting things happen, and a lot of different theaters have come up with different ways to produce shows. So I was taking classes with Marcus Sams through Moment Improv, and he is actually going to be contributing some pieces to the second edition, because I'll have actually about a dozen contributors. I'm very excited, of people sharing their games, and like some short essays, and then some just kind of like quick little words of wisdom from a lot of different people about like, you know, what are their most important takeaways.
Karen 12's book, if you read this, you'll never have to take an improv class again. Like
no,
stuff.
No, take a class. And then keep taking. That's why I take classes all the time.
But I want that to be written on your book, like on the the back cover. You know how they have like the flat like quotes that are always like so inspirational.
I don't have any inspirational.
Well, now you do. What I just said, you can quote me on it next time. I wrote down Marcus Sams. If you look at this, by the way, I'm slowly devolving into madness. Oh, you can't see, it's too whited out.
It won't show up.
It's slowly, you can see I'm devolving into madness over here, writing things down.
I'm still trying to think about how to answer that question about media. I think it's hard because I have really liked some like recorded live shows.
Are there any YouTube channels that you like?
No, I'm not on YouTube too much.
Interesting.
But then you find out that those people are problematic.
Yeah, true.
You know,
true.
It's like there was like Middleditch and Schwartz on Netflix was really funny.
Yeah.
And I have my own like things that I liked and didn't like about them as a viewer.
Sure.
But then you hear about, and I don't even remember which one was which at this point.
I don't remember.
You know, it just.
Yeah. Well, it's
hard to think about like. And I think it's also hard to find good recorded live anything.
Yeah, true.
You know?
True.
It's just not the same. And especially with improv, where it is really messy and a lot of it relies on the audience being maybe a little drunk.
It for sure. Yeah. There's an energy in the room, for sure.
It's very different watching that show from your couch.
Yeah, it is interesting because a lot of the stuff I've watched, like, unless there's somebody that I really like that's performing, like I've watched a decent amount of improv on YouTube, and unless there's somebody I like, I don't get into it. Like I'm just like,
yeah, it's really hard. And you can watch it and go like, oh, that got a really big laugh, that must have been really, really good in that moment. I'm not in that moment, so it didn't hit me, but I see it was good. Like I've had to record one of my troops has a Chick Flick has a YouTube channel with videos that are all 5 years old by now. And we had to make videos to submit to festivals and things. And we had to have current videos. And I always felt like, yeah, it proves that we performed. But I don't know if it necessarily it might not have been the best show. Sometimes I think we've had some practices that were
amazing.
Like some of the best things we've ever done. And we're like, and it's gone.
No, that's interesting.
Into the wind.
It's so I guess what do you like I guess what is your mentality then when something like that happens? Like how do you be like, oh, that performance was not as good, like why are we not as good as our practices, you know?
I don't know. Sometimes it doesn't work. I mean, I think the great thing about improv is that you can forgive yourself for it not being great, and then just keep doing it.
I love that. That's because I feel this way a lot when I'm DMing. Like, it's like if every week isn't just like, oh my gosh, that was the best. Like, that was the best session ever. That was so much fun. It's like, oh, that wasn't as good. Like, man, maybe I'm getting worse. And like, you start thinking and you go through all these thoughts, like, so how do you work with those thoughts? Like, how have you?
I mean, I think improv has really helped in that mindset of being okay, of letting things go.
Yeah.
And being very, very in the moment. And so if something didn't work out, it's over. It already happened, it's gone. And you can, obviously, if something went bad for a reason, you can look at that and be like, why didn't that scene work? How can I improve myself as an improviser and my techniques? You can break things down to learn from it. But also, if you just had a bad night,
Yeah,
it's fine.
Yeah.
I've had shows where the short form troupe that I was in with All Out Comedy, and by the way, they are doing a fundraiser to try to build a new theater.
Oh.
I'll drop a link maybe.
Well, please do. Please do.
Yeah. They're a wonderful theater in Oakland, and I absolutely love them. And we used to do a 7:30 show and then a 9:30 show.
Yeah.
And the 7:30 show, like some nights you would kill the 7:30, be amazing. 9:30 would be awful. Other times the other way around. 7:30 was really rough. 9:30, amazing. And yeah, one time we just had a perfectly fine 7:30 show, and we were all feeling really good. The 9:30 show was so bad. I just remember we were all like, and normally none of us were kind of older. We don't go out to the bar after the show anymore, but we all went out and we're just like sitting there shell shocked, like, what did we do?
Oh no.
What happened?
Oh.
Because it just nothing was landing, and then you get in your head and you're like, why can't I do this? And then you can't, and then
yeah, like at least yeah, the yips for sure. At least like one night, or at least to get like one laugh a night, like hope. But like if that doesn't happen, like oof.
So you just have to forgive yourself and be like, you could look at it and you might find some things that you can improve upon yourself as an improviser, or you could have just had a bad night and a bad audience.
True. And
God, it's just improv.
I think that's one reason I love D&D and the concepts of improv is that as a therapist, I think I've loved those things because it's just teaching mindfulness. Like it's just teaching to be present 100% in the moment. Like that's when it's at its best. So I'd be interested as well. Do you do any like work with actually, let me ask this instead. What is like your personal experience in regards to the relationship between mental health and like improv or tabletop role-playing games or anything like that?
I don't think either of them are great places to work out your problems.
Yeah.
I don't think either of them should be therapy. I think you can use those things for therapy. Like drama therapy is therapy.
Yeah.
And you are using improv and theater for therapy.
Yes.
You're not bringing your therapy onto the stage for an improv show. Like that's not appropriate, because there's an audience of people that didn't show up for that. There's like the people that you're playing with are not therapists. They don't know how to take care of you. And at the table your GM is not your therapist.
No. Or the other players.
Yeah, and they will not know how to take care of you.
Yeah.
And so bringing in and so it's such a fun place in gaming and in improv to explore being different people and trying different things out. Yeah, playing a character who says yes all the time. But you have to kind of take care of yourself about like, how much am I going to explore?
Yes.
And maybe you're going to go do a game and do some Nordic LARP that's all deep feels, and everyone's on board for that, and you have a lot of safety words and you've all rehearsed it, and you figured it out, and there's even somebody there who's like there for aftercare for you, and then everyone's on board.
Yeah.
So then it is kind of therapy, but you all agreed to it.
Yeah, exactly. You knew what you're getting into.
So Yeah.
I agree. I think the expectations are key with all of it.
I come back to that a lot. It's just like if everyone's on the same page with expectations, then it's going to be great.
Yes,
And
exactly.
and as soon as one person has different expectations, like then you need to realign.
Yeah, at that point in time, a conversation needs to happen, or
Yeah.
like, and it's interesting because I only recently I've like come across this concept of like I've been a therapist for like 8 years, but I have just started coming across in like gaming this concept of like safe words and safety nets and things like this is very recent. Within the past year, it was just like because I was running games with friends that we've been friends since kindergarten, so like we can do anything we want because
you already know the limits. You don't need the language to negotiate it because you are probably already comfortable doing that in other ways.
Yes, exactly. And it's nice because then it just is like you can do anything you want, and everybody knows, like, yeah, this is just them. This is just James. This is just Ben or Parker, whoever it is. And and it would be nice and interesting to see how that works with, like, doing improv comedy for long periods of time. You develop, I guess, that bonding rapport.
Yeah, you get a sense of where you can go, and how much can you push the other player, how much can you kind of sell them out on stage. Sometimes that's fun, sometimes it's not. The audience likes watching you suffer.
Yeah.
So you might pretend to suffer a little bit more than you actually are suffering.
Yeah.
And that might be things like you have a scene and you're like, Mom, can you sing me that song that you always sing?
Yeah.
The one.
Yeah.
That's a kind of a mean, I'm selling you out right there. I would only do that if I knew that you would be down to make up a song on the spot.
Yeah.
And you could pretend to hate it, and the audience would love seeing you pretend to hate it.
Yeah.
But I would only do that if I knew that you would do that. If I knew that you were somebody who hated singing, I would never make that offer. Yeah,
and unfortunately, I do love singing, but I just don't. I haven't ever sang on my YouTube channel before, so that's
But like I wouldn't. You wouldn't know that about somebody unless you've worked with them for a long time. I did look up, by the way, I can definitely buy a Bones or No Bones Day, holiday, anything, and I am.
Do you prefer Bones Days or No Bones Days?
I love them both, and what I love that Jonathan, I don't know his last name, so I act like I know him. What I love that he does is that they're both good.
Yes, exactly.
A Bones Day is a have fun and be confident and go do something fun for yourself day, and a No Bones Day is take it easy and be kind to yourself and do something nice for yourself day.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, you still get to justify doing something nice to yourself, and I think that is so.
It's beautiful.
Wonderful.
It's so beautiful.
I really like that, because it would have been a real bummer if it was like. And some people, I think it would be really easy to just be like, no
it's a No Bones Day. Exactly. Yeah. No, and I love it. Like it's so fun how it's like, I actually prefer No Bones Days. That's my like when I hear it's a Bones Day, I'm like, oh, okay. Looks like I gotta get out there and work. Like, I'm still motivated to do it. But then if it's a No Bones Day, I'm like, oh yes, I like don't have to give in to this capitalist like consumerist mentality. I can take a day off.
Yeah.
So you love both though.
If I impulse bought the things that I want for myself every time it was a Bones Day, I almost made some bad purchases. So I'm glad that I didn't.
What was one of the worst?
Oh, just like a purse I absolutely didn't need, And I'm glad I sat on that one. I was like, I'm not going to buy this just because a dog got up.
Hey, did you see that one? The person that bought the lottery ticket?
No.
Oh, no. Oh, no. This is actually what sold me on Bones or No Bones. Because I thought it was dumb. I don't believe in a lot of stuff like that. And like, so initially I was like, so stupid. Like, and then I my wife showed me a video of this lady that was like, so it's a Bones Day today, and I was at the gas station, and like I was checking out, and I saw like lottery tickets. I was like, no, your mom had a gambling addiction. You don't need a lottery ticket. And she's like, but you know, it's a Bones Day, and she won $500,000.
Holy crap!
I know.
That's amazing.
So I was like, wait, is she? And I still don't know if she was telling the truth or not, but that's not the point, right?
Yeah,
like,
that's the thing, is there's all kinds of superstitious things like, oh yeah, play this audio in the background of your video, and within 24 hours you'll get a bunch of money or
yes,
something.
it's a chainmail.
Yeah, people say, oh yeah, it definitely happened. I was like, listen, I remember this. I remember these chainmails. I don't think I want this, but I also want money. So what are you gonna do?
There's only one way to find out. There's only one way to find out.
I have not used the audio.
Yeah.
Money making audio.
Well, I love it. Let's are you okay with talking about your TikTok?
Yeah, sure.
Because I think the game that you have invented, okay, I don't know the origins of it, so let me guess it without knowing the origins.
Okay.
I think you actually do Google store names that contain two words, two different things, and then you put a poll on guess what it is. So it'd be like pig and pine cone, you know, and you'd be like, is this a salon, a bar, or something else? I think
I have a couple different categories, but there's bar/restaurant.
Yeah.
For a while I had British pubs, but there was only so many, so we ran out.
Yeah.
Salon, tattoo, or clothing store.
Yeah.
But
I love that you did British pubs. That's beautiful.
Because there's so many of those, but then again, there's only so many, so it kind of, that category died a little bit and then just got folded into bar/restaurant.
Yeah.
But I only ever do 3 out of those possible categories at a time.
Wow. Yeah. So I don't, when I'm on social media and I like think about it, I'm like, oh, I gotta go vote on this. Like I gotta make sure I do it. Like I love this game. It is so fun.
God. That's so exciting to hear. I love that there's like a solid dozen people that play it.
Well, hey,
Twitter.
my 51 subscribers are gonna join, and it's gonna be big.
I have a solid core of like 4 or 5 of my friends on TikTok who play.
Oh my gosh, it's so fun.
And like that just makes me happy. I'm not famous. I am, you know, perhaps mildly bitter and confused that like I love that one woman had so many Taco Bell hot sauce packets in a drawer that she turned it into an oracle. I love that.
That is beautiful.
People would ask her a question.
I gotta get on that.
On the drawer, and because they all had like little sayings on the back.
Yeah. Oh, I remember those. I remember these. Yeah, it was
amazing.
And some of them were like pickup lines.
Yeah.
Like they were like, "Hey, hot stuff," and you're like, "Oh, this is on a mild packet, not the fire one."
What does it mean? Yeah. So,
what are you saying about my figure?
So I love all of those things, but I really was like, why is this not ever taken? Why am I not famous? It's fine.
But
as I've learned, I don't really want that.
But it's interesting because it actually is my favorite game that I've read about in your book so far. Also, the one where I think it's a warm up. Where
3 things.
No. It's the one. I got it marked in here, actually. I marked it because I love it.
I need to find it.
Convergence. It's my favorite game.
Oh, yeah.
It's my favorite game. I played it with my wife right after we read it, and it took us 13 tries to get to the same word, like just us two.
Cool.
But
it's a really fun game to play. Although I do say if you're not getting to it, like you should stop as soon as it stops being fun.
It was worth it because we had this moment. Yeah, we had this moment where like one of us had said monkey and one of us had said market, which is actually an inside joke that we've had for like 5 years. I don't remember how we started. And then we kept like switching back and forth between like monkey, money, and market, and those 3 words just kept like cycling around. And then at the very end, we finally said the same word, and we were both like ready for bed, and we were like, "Yay!" And then we're like, "Okay, good night." Just like, it was awesome.
That's awesome.
Speaking of, I do like to play a game on this show. We've definitely reached the game point. do you want to? I'll give you the option because I feel like you have a repertoire of games. We can play one that you enjoy, or we can create our own game right now if you want.
Oh God, I don't know. I don't. I mean, I think I want to maybe play one I enjoy, but now I don't. I can't think of anything.
It's okay. I have your book right here.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And we can play. I know you like three things, right?
Let's do one that's not in the book. That's going to be in the second edition.
Oh, there we go. Oh, a spoiler.
Well, because it was pretty much, there's a lot that didn't make it in, and then there's obviously, because I keep taking classes and meeting new improvisers and finding out their favorite games and learning fun stuff. And I was like, oh God, that one will be really great.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a really fun game called I've learned it is called Crisis, and I imagine that it has a little exclamation point on it, like Crisis.
Yeah.
That's just how I imagine it.
Is that how it is in the book?
I think it will have an exclamation.
It better. I hope so. I actually thought it was funny because I thought of like the rules in Spanish where you have an exclamation before and after. Crisis with bookended exclamation points.
Just a lot, top and bottom.
People are like, "Why are you doing that?" You're like, "I don't. That was just what Parker said, and it was a bad idea. Looking back, I regret it. I wish I never would have done it. He's just an idiot." Oh, no. So what happens in Crisis? Teach me about it.
So Crisis is great, and it's a wonderful game about the power of saying things and making them true because you said it confidently.
Okay.
What we're going to do is we're going to solve each other's problems.
Oh, good.
So
I am a therapist, so.
Yeah. So the first thing that we do is not the improvisational part. We will think up a thing in advance.
Okay.
It's fine. I want you to think of a problem, like any day-to-day problem, and then a totally unrelated object.
Okay.
So take a second to think about that. I'll think of one too. Okay, so my problem is that I forgot to buy my husband an anniversary present. And all I have is this pair of left-handed scissors. Oh. So what is your problem in your object?
My problem is I have run out of ink in my pen. And the object that I have is a polished piece of stone.
Fantastic. I'm going to solve your problem with my object. You ran out of ink in your pen. Your favorite pen?
Yeah, it was my favorite pen. I loved it.
Bummer. You ran out of ink in your favorite pen, and all I have is a pair of left-handed scissors.
Yeah.
So my challenge now as the player is to make up whatever else I need to do to justify how I will fix this problem with this object. And it's going to work. It just is. It's going to work because I said that it would.
Yeah.
So I have a pair of left-handed scissors. Well, the thing that people don't know about left-handed scissors is because the edge is on the other side, it actually it sharpens itself the more it cuts.
Yeah.
Something about the way the edges are there.
Yeah.
So left-handed scissors are terrifyingly sharp.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is actually slice open the side of the pen, because this is one of those pens where it wasn't designed to have a cartridge.
Yeah.
But we're going to slice it open with the pair of those scissors.
Oh, perfect.
Pull out the empty cartridge and put in a new one. And just super glue it back up. And now you have ink again in your pen.
Can we do pink in it? Is that okay? We can do pink inside.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect. Oh, it's better than before.
Yeah. So crisis averted.
Oh, this pen, I'm grateful the pen died because it was a horrible pen before this moment. Thank you, Karen. You fixed I have a perfect pink pen.
You do.
Which is the best alliteration you possibly could have.
Yeah.
That's a great game.
Yeah. So now you need to solve my problem with your object. So I forgot to get my fabulous husband, Sean, an anniversary present.
Yeah.
My dad. And you had a perfectly smooth stone.
Yeah, it's okay, Karen, because as somebody who I don't really believe in the idea of anniversary presents. The concept alone is. It's not real. Time isn't real, so why should anniversaries be celebrated? We should just, when we care and love each other, we should show each other every day in the little things,
Right.
So I think a lot of times people are like, oh, it's your anniversary, you're going to get flowers. Flowers die. You're going to get chocolates. Chocolates make us fat. So
They're so good though, but yeah.
yeah, but now imagine instead of eating chocolates, you have a smooth stone. What do you want to do with that stone? You want to put it in your mouth.
Right.
It's
yeah,
what you
obviously.
want to do. Every
'Cause
child's
it's so smooth.
Exactly. You look at it and you're like, I bet that would be awesome.
Amazing. Yeah.
And you like can imagine your tongue like being along the smooth. It's actually, if I'm being quite frank, it's a little sensual. But so I think your husband would really
so my husband's
appreciate.
stone.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think
cool.
would really appreciate it. Plus, there's some there's
fantastic.
some chakra stuff involved, I'm sure. So
We'll figure it out. Awesome. Thank you. Crisis averted.
that is do you say crisis averted at the end?
You don't have to.
That is beautiful. I love that you say because it shows the end of the game. Crisis averted. I love because that's why I like Three Things, is because there's an end. Three things. You
Yeah.
did it. Boom, you're done. Three things.
Yep.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I like that game a lot. Yeah, it's just super silly, and I think it's a great way of showing that, we can be very creative problem solvers. We just have to allow ourselves to be able to make up a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I find like you have to do that in gaming a lot of like just justifying why this is going to work. And I don't know physics. I don't know why this is going to work,
No.
but it is.
One thing
It's just gonna do it.
one thing that was funny that I thought about while you were saying left-handed scissors is they're sharper, and that's because nobody uses left-handed scissors.
Yeah.
So of course they're going to be sharp. The right ones are all dull from overuse. I thought that was beautiful. That was great.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome to see as well, like, you get to see somebody in a different way, like when you do improv. It's showing a little bit of yourself that you don't show to the general public,
It is being a little vulnerable because you are putting yourself in this position of like, I am here on a stage with you. We are making up a story on the spot.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of trust because we're doing this together.
Yeah.
So I'm going to take care of you. You're going to take care of me. And we're going to make sure we're both going to make sure that the other person is having a good time.
Yeah.
And we're going to listen to each other and make sure that we're working with the other person's ideas. And then that's how it builds rather than two separate people trying to improvise separately.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that. I think it's one reason that being a recreation therapist, I do a bunch of games and stuff. And it always confused me. Like there's but there's an acronym in recreation therapy called API, and it stands for the process of recreation therapy. You have assessment, planning, implementation, and evaluation. And people always said, like, at the end of every group, you need to talk about what just happened, or like what you did was pointless. Like the game was pointless. You were just having fun. And I understand where they're coming from. That's what makes it therapeutic. But I also never really bought into it. Like, because when I think back on my life, like the times that have been hardest for me, just doing the activity has helped me so much without even having anyone to talk about it with,
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what I do when I teach improv for real life classes. And that's specifically the title, one of the classes that I teach through Berkeley Improv Theater, but applied improv is often what it's called. And it's what you do at corporate workshops and things like that too. Where you play the games, like you play a game like Crisis, but you do debrief it. You say, cool, what were some of the skills that we were using?
Yeah.
One, we were listening. We had to remember what the other person's object and problem were. We were being creative. We were being confident that it was going to work. And we were just projecting that confidence into whatever it was that we came up with. We were supporting the other person and agreeing that their problem was going to work. And you do break it down and talk about, the human skills that we use in these silly little games. And so we play a lot of those games, but then we break down, we're like, what were the human skills that we just practiced there? And it's not therapy. Like we don't.
Yeah. Well, this is
too deep, but it gives you a lot to think about on your own.
Yeah, and this is, I guess, what's a little different because where I work is like acute mental health, so people are usually committed to come here, by like a court to come to a mental hospital.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, so then it's
I
like,
teach it at an improv theater.
yeah, exactly. So it's like
they
when
show up because they wanted to like get better at making, presentations.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I love is it's like in improv, the expectation is that you are going to like talk about things. Like there's a process, like, and it's like, this is what we're here to do. We're here to build this skill. And all of you are voluntarily coming here,
Yeah.
But like where I'm at, it's like people don't necessarily want to be there. And now you're asking me to like process something. Yeah. Like A, play a game, and then B, talk about it afterwards. Like I find people are more willing and open to do the activity, but don't necessarily want to talk about it afterwards. And I'm like, you know what? That's fine. Like, that is okay. Not every D&D session needs to end with people being like, okay, now, like, how are y'all feeling? Like, some do, but not everyone.
Yeah. I often encourage people to, if I will play a game and I'll say, like, how was that? What was something that was challenging? What was fun for you?
Yeah.
If your answer is, that was really weird, Karen, I don't know why we did that, you can tell me that too.
Yeah.
And if they do say like, that was weird, like, what was weird for you about it? And like, I'm not trying to get anything else more from them, but yeah, we try to just like tease out these little moments of self-reflection. And it's really good in a corporate environment when you're doing like a team building workshop. You focus on games that are all about working together, and then you show, hey, you guys just actually had fun working together. Who knew?
Yeah.
Who knew that you could use these human skills for funsies?
Yeah. That's the goal, isn't it? Human skills for funsies.
Yeah.
That's improv's tagline. It's written right under there. Human skills for funsies.
Well, I think moment theater, Marcus's tagline is one of them, is to human at a higher level.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that.
So I attribute that entirely to Marcus Sams at Moment Theater.
I've added his name to my list. Yeah. I think I have Marcus Sams, Last Fleet, Archipelago. I don't know how to say that word. Norwegian. Yeah, thank you. Norwegian style. And then I have in parentheses Matthias. All Out Comedy and Berkeley Improv. Those are the things I've written down on this.
Yeah, tiny, those are things that everyone should look up.
Tiny.
give money to all of those things.
And I do, and actually I do need to go. But before I go, I want to first of all say, it's been such a pleasure.
Yeah, this was so fun.
I hope you did have fun, because I had so much fun.
Yeah, this was really great.
I wanted to give you a chance to plug anything that you want to plug. Yeah. If you have anything.
I think the list of things was great. I will say All Out Comedy Theater, we lost our physical theater space.
Yeah.
Last year.
That's hard. Ugh.
But also, it had a leaky roof, and it is really great to start fresh.
Oh, so true.
Colleen Breen, the founder, has something in the pipeline of a brand new space, and we're raising money to fund the build out of it, because otherwise it's probably a lot of loans.
Yeah.
So
seriously.
there is a GoFundMe for that.
Okay.
And anything would help. So I will pass along the link for that.
We'll link it in the show notes, I guess is what you call them.
Yeah.
The description. I don't know.
And Improv for Gamers 2nd edition, we will have lots of more games.
I feel like I have a collector's edition now. Like I feel like fancy having a first edition.
Still get the PDF of it.
Yeah, but it's
unless
not
you find it. Unless you find a hard copy in a store, there's no more being printed.
Go to Powell's Books. That's where I got it.
And I think like IPR might still have some, but yeah, Evil Hat doesn't have any more physical copies. So, but yeah, the 2nd edition will have more games, and it will have a lot of contributors and like a lot more fun stuff in it. I'm really excited, and we will be kickstarting it sometime next year.
I'm excited to get both of them and compare and contrast, and I can see where the differences are.
You'll see. I fixed a lot of things. There are a lot of things that I'm not happy with some of the choices I made in that book. So
it sounds like you're an editor. It sounds almost like I'm hearing an editor speak.
I'm critical of my own language, and so I've fixed some things that I'm pretty happy about.
I've had to learn to do that with editing like stuff, and being like, now I'm watching stuff and I'm like, oh man, like I have to learn editing, and it's gonna be so much work. So
what do you hire editors for?
I don't even know how to go about doing that. That sounds like the most impossible task. Man.
You go on Twitter and you say, I'm looking for an editor, and all of us freelancers retweet it and send you our portfolios.
Okay, once I start getting money, then I'll start hiring.
Yeah.
Karen, it's been such a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
It's been so good talking. I'm going to stop recording right now.